this will all make sense in a moment. Welcome back to Film-Studio-Taku. The Nikon Z30, arguably Nikon's first ever pure vlogging camera, has been announced. What is it, who is it for, and who is it not for? This will be shorter than most videos because primarily there is very little really to talk about with this camera, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. I have moved my chair. Who is this camera for, and is it the camera for you? If you're asking this question, you are likely one of two types of camera users that this may or may not be intended for. Firstly, someone interested in photography, likely coming from a smartphone, or perhaps you have recently bought or been gifted a point and shoot. And you're likely just not quite able to get the images you feel and see in your mind into the actual files off your camera. You've probably heard that APS-C is much more dynamic than the sensor in your point and shoot or your phone, or maybe you're just drawn to the Nikon name or the interchangeable lens aspect. To keep it short and sweet, because I really want to help these people, first and foremost, before they fall into a purchase trap or lose interest in my video, this is not the camera for you unless you are interested in nighttime street photography, possibly astrophotography or time lapses at night, something at night. In which case it could work, though there are still far better options for roughly the same price. And I will elaborate on that in a little bit. But first, let's talk about the second group. The second group is the vlogger group. Hey vloggers. For most vloggers, not all, but the vast majority, I can say with confidence, this is your camera, or at least this is a camera that will work for you, with a few caveats, and you have to do a little bit of your own work here. However, to the photographers that are saying, hey, I also want to vlog, don't get your panties in a bunch. I got you. Just sit back and pay attention, because there is another Jedi. Actually, there's several. So again, this camera will fit 99% of vloggers' intended use, which is pointing a camera at themselves, doing their thing, whatever that thing may be, seeing themselves as they make a fool of themselves clearly, and after learning a little bit about the camera and getting a decent mic that fits their needs, they will be able to make sure that they are in focus, properly exposed and properly heard, never to be unheard again by the world. Bringing me to the real question. Is that what you want? Is it? Take some time here. Really think about that one. Do you want to be seen by the world and never unheard and never unseen? Assuming this is still you, let's dive a little deeper with a simple statement that releases me from all legal obligation, from having to do an in-depth evaluation here on a camera that we don't really have in our hands, but it's pretty easy to know quite a bit about this camera. And it'll allow me to get back to the photography crowd and hybrid crowd quickly. So basically, the reason I don't have to go too in depth is because this Nikon Z30 is a Nikon ZFC, which is a Nikon Z50 without an EVF. In the case of the Z50 has no sideways flipping screen. This Z30 and the ZFC do. The Z50 has a flip down screen, which I actually kind of like better for the vlogging thing, but I get why some wouldn't. For photography, it's different. I would actually prefer a flippy screen in most scenarios. So let's not split hairs, though, over little details like that. For the observant but unaware, Nikon, for all of their goodness, has a very bad habit of announcing old features like they are new. In particular, with this camera, they have worded this release to sound like the Z30 has a new processor unavailable in previous APS-C cameras and only available on the full frame line, the XPEED 6 processor. However, it is the same processor as the Z50 and the ZFC, plain and simple. The one thing the Z30 has added, there's several, but one of the big ones is it has eye detect in video, and that is a good thing. However, don't quote me on this. I know I said that weird. Don't quote me on this. I highly suspect that Nikon will be adding video eye detect to not only the Z50 and ZFC, but finally to the first iterations of the Z6 and Z7. Why? Because they cannot maintain the lie of not having enough processing power when they put it into their cheapest, lowest end APS-C camera. So, granted, Japanese management is often petty. Sorry, it's true in my experience. So maybe they will leave it out just to spite YouTubers like me. No. I highly doubt that they even watch this shit, to be honest. I don't doubt that there's a young hipster in Tokyo paid to watch this stuff that speaks very good English and likely edits it down to the bare minimals without being offensive to the upper management that he reports back to, that reports back to the upper management. So, yeah. The only difference, though, I have found in specs comparing these cameras, I know I'm just jumping right back into it, that's what I do, side by side, other than before mentioned, or the aforementioned, is that the Z50 has more scene modes, referred to in the Z30 specs as picture control. But maybe in the menu it might still be scene modes. I believe the Z30 has it on the dial as picture control. Don't quote me, let's look. Ah, okay. And the Z30 has a max video record time of 125 minutes, while the Z50 and ZFC are 30 minutes. However, I learned just before starting this video, after writing this, yeah, this isn't off the top of my head, I know, can you believe it? That the 125 minute limit is in 1080p and it may be something closer to 35 minutes in 4K. I think we should just say 30 minutes. Is that what it is, Nikon? Is that what you're trying to tell us? That 30-minute limit is still there, but you just lifted it for 1080p? I think so. So 4K is basically unchanged, unless something happens, firmware updates, but don't hold your breath. So I'm used to the 30-minute limits on my Z6 here. I don't like them, but I'm used to them. However, if you can suck it up and accept 1080p, you have 125 minutes, which is definitely an advantage for the vlogger, definitely someone who shoots extended stuff. Honestly, if you could shoot 30 minutes or less clips, though, it's a lot easier to deal with editing unless you're just not editing, in which case, more power to you. So another minor difference the Z30 has is its USB-C. The Z50, I believe, is USB Type-B. Don't quote me. I've had that camera in my hands a lot of times, but never actually owned one and never actually bothered looking at the USB. Sorry. They also both use the same battery, so, and I could check, but you go check. You go check now. Go check. They also both use the same battery, so that is useful if you're considering a Z30 for a second camera. That is nice, right? So it's always nice to have cross-platform batteries or cross-camera batteries. Anyways, it's nice to have a pocket full of the same batteries and just swap them out between various cameras. Panasonic did that for a very long time with the GH line. So let's slam on the brakes here and slam it into reverse. Before I round up why the Z30 probably is the best vlogging option available to date, I think that we do need to talk about why would you not want a Z30 for photography, especially if it has the same processor, sensor, and virtually everything else as the Z50 and ZFC, which are both very capable photography cameras. It's pretty simple. It doesn't have an EVF, which is crucial for so many photography situations. Even the brightest screens on Earth are susceptible to sun glare and can make framing and focus checks, let alone artistic intent, pretty impossible. If this is the camera you want, get a used Z50. It is the same thing with the general same ergonomics with an EVF, and on the used market you can probably get it for the same price as a new Z30. If you prefer to look cool rather than enjoy taking photos, get a ZFC and pay a couple $100 more for that hipster value, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Or look into Nikon's larger DSLR or even mirrorless options, as they're usually going to be better quality all around. There are many options for about the same price, especially on the used market. I would suggest starting by looking at the Nikon 610, as it's a full frame camera. The Z6, if you can get up into that 1,000-ish, 1,200 maybe now on the used market because prices have gone up, or similar. They are bigger, so keep that in mind, but full frame lets you capture a depth of field and magic that APS-C will never truly capture. Yes, technically you can get the same depth of field with the super shallow lenses, but actually never really down to what you can get with, like, let's say an f1.2 on a full frame. So APS-C can capture magic, mind you, but to simplify, it's different and generally not quite as good. There's something like basically an atmosphere that comes with full frame sensors. It's the depth you're seeing, literally more depth in your scene. So yeah. So what makes this the best vlogging outfit out there? I'm ready to snap a Z. Can you feel it? Is that rolling shutter or is that just on this monitor? Okay, I'm gonna lose my place. What makes this the best vlogging outfit out there in my opinion? Simplicity and weight are really high up there. I'll believe the 350 grams when I have a Z30 with a battery in it on a scale, but it's gonna be close, right? Eye detect, that's a huge one, which Nikon has shown they are more than capable of. I've actually always suspected my Z6 does have eye detect in video, just not the good kind. So they decided to pretend it's not there and put it on the Z6 II and the Z7 II, steadily making it a little bit better through firmware updates. So maybe they're even going to put it in secretly, full on, in the next firmware update. We'll see. The flippy screen, or we won't see. The flippy screen, though, is also very advantageous. The 125-minute record time helps seal the deal. I would count this camera out based on the lack of true IBIS, but it has electronic stabilization, which Nikon excels at, combined with lens stabilization, which again, Nikon excels at. Another very useful and super simple tool is a tally light. And if you don't know what that is, it's just a simple light on the front of the camera to tell you whether it's recording video or not. So simple, and every camcorder basically of the 1980s and 1990s for the most part had a tally light, but cameras didn't need it. It's so funny. It's become a premium video-centric feature now, but even though we all want to do video on our cameras. Anyways, just put them on every single camera already. So, but yeah, that's what a tally light is. It's a good thing. Simple, and you'll never ever you're never going to wonder whether or not you missed recordings. And should your memory card fill up, or you reach a record time limit, or batteries run out, you'll also know with or without seeing your screen. So the built-in mics with the wind muffs. Is it a gimmick? Likely yes and no. I'm pretty sure these are the same mics that are on the Z6 and Z7 series camera. They just made a funny looking little thing with fluffy balls to strap on. Oh, I guess it uses the hot shoe slot. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to slip your fluffy balls into the slot. And you're good to go. The mics on my Z6 are actually quite good for onboard audio, with or without fluffy balls. And I think in a controlled environment, speed up monitor, and I think in a controlled environment, are you hearing my voice and speeding up if I talk like this? And I think in a controlled environment, meaning turn off your computer, turn off your AC, and avoid talking directly into a wall, or put yourself facing a bunch of clutter or a blanket on the wall. And I think it should sound pretty good for most. You could buy some expensive sound dampening material, but personally I would invest in a better mic before I would spend that money. Which brings me to what's wrong with this camera and how to get around it. The biggest flaw of this camera, and it is a big flaw, is no headphone jack. Put simply, you cannot monitor your audio with your ears. They do have on-screen audio levels, as with, I believe, all Nikon mirrorless cameras. However, the levels apparently disappear in self-portrait mode, where you would likely need them the most. So there are a couple ways to deal with this extreme short-sightedness on Nikon's behalf. There's a few ways to get around this. Learn your voice both when you talk quiet and when you get excited by fluffy balls in front of you. When you're singing about fluffy balls, or when you're seeing how many fluffy balls you can fit in your mouth. Set your in-camera gain to a level that picks up your quiet self and loud self without being too quiet or clipping the audio, or in simple terms, making shitty, crunchy, distorted sound from yelling about fluffy balls in your face. Now, if you're doing outdoor vlogs, it is simpler. Invest in a good lavalier mic, with a good dead cat type wind muff, or two in case you lose one to use. If you're not comfortable with the term dead cat, as I know some people aren't, I can use a different word. So I think you're going to want to invest in a good lavalier mic and a couple fluffy balls you can stick on your chest. I know I'm being pretty childish at the moment, but it keeps me awake while I type this shit up. But the advice is very serious. You want a good mic that is less susceptible to wind and rumble and just, handles noise levels a little bit better. So I would recommend something small and pocketable, an external recorder like this Tascam DR10. This is the version that plugs in like a full-size mic output. There's smaller ones that have just a headphone type jack that you can actually plug into your camera as well. And it has a headphone, so you can actually monitor your audio. You could even have it hooked up to your Z30 and monitor your audio through this with a better mic on your chest. Personally, I don't monitor outdoors anymore, but that's because my fluffy balls do the trick. And I'm confident in my fluffy balls' ability to cancel out wind noise, no matter how hard it blows on my fluffy balls. So that's about it. Did I miss anything? Maybe. Once I start talking audio, I do sometimes lose focus for some reason. Will I be buying a Z30? It's actually more tempting than I expected, and I have been wanting a second camera to vlog with or just record myself doing my photography in Japan, as there are plenty of epic places I go, and you really only see the images I take most of the times. You don't get to see the whole scope of where I'm at, which really, again, could just be epic. So I will have an extra Z6, which I'm recording with now, as it fell down recently, and ironically has a broken EVF. But after I choose its replacement, I'm not so sure it's going to be my vlogging camera. I think it might be my studio-only camera because it's not as small and easy to carry around. It would be great to have basically a pocketable camera with good video quality, a flip-out monitor that adds only about a pound with a small lens attached to my bag, and I can still mount all of my Z and F mount lenses, which means I can basically do a lot of the things that I do, time lapses and stuff, while using my other camera to take photos. It just opens up a whole new realm for me, and I travel out of a backpack basically when I go do stuff, so it really would be nice to have a lightweight camera. So is it the right camera for you? If you're unsure, maybe watch this video again, being sure to pay really close attention to the audio shortcomings and the benefits and limitations of Nikon's fluffy ball technology. By the way, Nikon does charge you an extra $10 to put their fluffy balls in your hands. I do have an affiliate link below for the Z30 camera and several lenses, as well as the fluffy balls, just in case you decide they are up your alley. Buying from my affiliate links helps to support this channel, and it helps to keep me afloat, to be plain and simple about it, at no cost to you. Also, I am trying to reach 1,000 subscribers and still have quite a ways to go. So please do subscribe. At 1,000 subscribers, I plan to start some giveaways, some prizes and such. I'm allowed also to monetize at that point, so there will be more budget after this really gets going here, and I can do a lot more fun stuff. As well as 1,000 subscribers allows you to do live streams with a phone. So I can do live streams when I'm out and about from my phone, which, believe me, will be more fun than you think, as I find myself in a lot of very funny situations here in Tokyo. And I am also known to rock the mic, which is why I hold it like this sometimes. And I also do plenty of embarrassing things. Basically, when I go out, I have very little shame. So also, please do have a look at my photography at Film-Studio-Taku-in-Japan. I sell prints of my work, framed or not, and they ship from WHCC Print Labs in the United States, which is one of the best, most reliable print labs there is. They ship to the US and to Canada, so the prices stay really low for people in those areas. If you're international and you do want to buy some of my prints, please contact me directly on the Film-Studio-Taku.com website. I am building an international website which will have different print options, It's not there yet. It will be soon. So until then, if you do want to buy one of my prints, I will do my best to make that possible, but you got to contact me directly. And yeah, so I think that's about it. Anything else I wanted to say here? Fluffy ball, you got anything to say? No. Yes, there is a rubber band on my fluffy ball. It's the best way to keep your fluffy ball on your mic. Yeah. that's about it. So thank you for watching Film Studio Otaku, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.